Rand stood at the edge of the broken landing pad, looking at the silent research station ahead. The sky above the moon was dark, filled with distant stars. His boots crunched softly on the dry, gray dust. Everything around him was quiet. Too quiet. This moon had once held an important outpost, but now it was forgotten. Long ago, humans built this place to study strange signals from deep space. After a power failure and strange reports, it had been abandoned. Now, Rand had been sent alone to collect old data cores. The company didn't think it was important anymore. He walked slowly toward the main gate. The large metal doors were stuck halfway open. He squeezed through the gap and entered the cold hallway. Inside, the air was dry and still. Broken lights flickered weakly on the walls. Dust covered everything: computers, control panels, chairs. Even the old sign that said "Welcome, Observation Base 09. Rand switched on his shoulder light and kept walking. He moved carefully, checking each room. There were signs of damage. Some walls had deep cracks. A few machines were burned from inside, as if something powerful had passed through. After 2 hours of slow searching, Rand reached the central control room. Most of the systems were dead, but one small screen still glowed softly. He placed his pack on the table and began setting up his repair tools. Then he heard it, a soft sound. He stopped moving. It was quiet, very quiet, but he was sure he heard something, a soft sob, like someone was crying far away. Rand froze, holding his breath. Again, he heard it, a small, broken sob. Then silence. He grabbed his light and followed the sound. It came from deep within the station, near the old storage rooms. His boots echoed on the metal floor as he walked down the dark hall. His heart beat faster. Who could be crying here? He reached the last hallway, where old crates were stacked against the walls. At the end, there was a round door, slightly open. A soft blue light glowed from inside. Rand gently pushed the door open, and there she was. A figure sat on the floor, knees pulled to her chest. Her skin was soft blue, glowing faintly. She had long, silver hair that hung around her face like a curtain. Her clothes were torn, and her hands were trembling. She looked up when she heard him. Her eyes were wide and full of fear, but also something else, sadness, deep, endless sadness. She tried to speak, but only gasped. Rha and stepped forward. Carefully, his voice soft. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." She stared at him, blinking slowly. Then, with a shaky breath, she whispered, human. Her voice was weak, broken. Then, without warning, she fell forward. Into his arms, Rand caught her gently. She was light and cold to the touch. Her body trembled as she sobbed quietly against him. He didn't know what to say. He had never seen a being like her before. But something in her cry felt familiar. Deep inside, it hurt. She wasn't a threat. She was lost and scared. Rand held her gently, not moving. After a long moment, she whispered something. He didn't understand it all, but he heard one word clearly: Tiala. He looked down at her. "Your name is Tiala." She nodded slowly, still crying. He helped her sit down carefully, then took off his jacket and placed it over her shoulders. "You're safe now. I'll help you." Tiala looked up at him again. Her eyes were large and silver. She stared at his face, as if trying to believe he was real. "You are human," she said again, this time with a little more strength. "Yes, I'm Rand." She repeated his name softly, like it was something sacred. Rand. He led her back to the control room, where it was warmer. He gave her water and some energy snacks from his pack. She ate slowly, still shivering. After a while, she began to speak more clearly. "I came searching," she said, pausing between words. "For you. For humans." Rand frowned. "Why? What happened to you?" Tiala looked at the broken screen on the wall. Her voice was soft. "My world, far from here, was once full of light. We were peaceful. We studied stars. Then, the sky changed. Darkness came." She closed her eyes. "We believed someone had come long ago. A human. He brought light, hope, but he vanished, left behind only his voice." "What voice?" Rand asked. She pointed at the wall. He left a message encoded in our stars. We followed it. I followed it. Rehan looked at her, confused. You came all the way here? Just for that, she nodded slowly. I was the last, everyone else gone. I wanted to know if humans were still real, still kind. Rehan's throat felt tight. He didn't know what to say. She had crossed space for a dream and found only ruins. But her story wasn't just sad. It was something more. Something important. He reached out and gently touched her hand. You're not alone now, Tiala. I'm here, and I'm listening. She looked at him for a long time. Her eyes filled again with tears, but this time they weren't only from sadness. There was something else. Hope. Tiala sat quietly on the floor of the old control room. The soft light from Ren's portable lamp made shadows dance on the wall. Her silver hair fell gently over her shoulders, and her blue skin looked pale in the cold air. She held Ren's jacket close, as if it gave her strength. Ren sat near her, his back against the wall. He had given her water and food, and now he waited. He didn't want to push her. She had come from so far. She was still weak, but there was something powerful in her eyes. Like she had a story the stars had forgotten. He looked at her kindly. Can you tell me more now? About how you got here? Tiala looked up. Her voice was soft but clear. I will try. She closed her eyes for a moment, then began to speak. I come from a world called Asola, she said. It is a small planet near the edge of the blue cluster. We were not many, but we were peaceful. My people, the Nokari, loved learning. We watched the stars. We listened to them. We believed every star had a memory. Rehan listened closely. Her voice was like music, not loud, not fast, but full of emotion. Every word felt like a thread from a lost time. Long ago, she continued, a stranger came to our world. He looked like you. He was a human. He came in a broken ship, hurt and tired, but he was kind. He helped us understand new things. He gave us books, tools, and stories. He stayed for a while, and then he left. She looked down, as if remembering something precious. After he left, she said, we kept his stories. He told us humans were many, and that one day they would return. We believed. We waited. Rehan asked gently, and did no one return? Tiala shook her head slowly. No. For hundreds of years, no human came back. But we did not stop believing. The children grew up with stories of the human who brought light. We called him the Bright Visitor. Rehan smiled a little. That's a nice name. She gave a faint smile too, but it faded quickly. Then something terrible happened, she said. Her voice dropped low. The stars near our world began to dim. One by one, systems went silent. Ships stopped returning. We sent out messages, but no one answered. We knew something was spreading. A silence. Rehan leaned forward. A silence? Yes, she said. Something that eats. Energy, not a person, not a ship. Something cold and endless. It moves slowly, but wherever it goes, life disappears. We call it the dark sleep. Rehan's eyes widened. He had never heard of such a thing. And you escaped from it? I tried, Tiala said. Many of us tried. But only I had the old map, the one with the human symbols. It showed this place, this moon. I followed it, hoping, maybe here, I would find someone. She looked at Rehan again, her eyes wet. I thought I was too late, but then I found you. Rehan didn't know what to say. Her journey had been long, full of danger and loneliness, and still, she had not given up. You were very brave, he said simply. Tiala looked away. I was just desperate. They sat in silence for a while. The station around them groaned softly as old metal cooled and shifted. Then Rehan stood up. You said there was a message from the first human. Tiala nodded. Yes, hidden in the data core. I believe it's still here. Then we'll find it, Rehan said. Together, they moved through the station slowly. Tiala walked with careful steps, still tired but stronger than before. Rehan guided her, shining his light into the dark corners. They reached a locked room near the back of the station. The door had a faded sign in both Earth script and another language. one Rehan didn't recognize. Tiala touched the door gently. This is it. Rehan used his tools to unlock the control panel. After a few tries, the door slid open with a low hiss. Inside was a small room filled with machines. Most were broken or dusty, but in the center stood a glowing container. Smooth, black, and humming softly, Tiala stepped forward. That's it, the memory core. Rehan examined it. It was old, but still working. He connected a small display to it. The screen came to life. At first, there was only static. Then, a soft voice spoke, deep, kind, and human. Message log, Commander Darren, Earth Explorer Team 7. Rehan and Tiala listened in silence. The voice spoke of finding a planet called Isola, of meeting peaceful beings, of helping them learn. The man in the recording spoke with respect and love for the Nokari, and though I must leave, the voice said, I leave behind knowledge and hope. To any who find this message, if the Nokari ever come searching for us, welcome them. They are our friends. The message ended. Tiala's eyes were full of tears again. But this time, she smiled. He remembered us, she whispered. Rehan looked at her, heart full. He did. And now, so will we. That night, Rehan and Tiala stayed in the control room. Rehan made a small fire using emergency heat packs. Tiala rested, wrapped in a soft blanket. As they sat together, Rehan asked, why did your people believe so strongly in that one human? Tiala looked at the fire. Because he showed us that even a single act of kindness can light the stars. We remember that. She turned to Rehan. And now, I will remember you. Rehan nodded slowly. Then maybe this isn't the end. Maybe it's a beginning. The fire in the control room had gone cold, but the light of hope still warmed the air. Rehan woke first. He stretched quietly and looked around. Tiala was still asleep, curled up with a soft blanket round her shoulders. Her breathing was calm. Now, she no longer looked lost. She looked peaceful, like someone who had finally found a place to rest. Rehan stood up and walked toward the small desk where the memory core rested. The message from Commander Darren still echoed in his head. If the Nokari ever come searching for us, welcome them. It felt like a message written across time, not for just anyone, but for him. Rehan opened his portable scanner and checked the data core again. He wanted to see if there was anything more hidden in it. After all, if the commander had left a greeting, maybe he had left a clue, a key to something bigger. Tiala slowly woke and joined him. You are still working? She asked gently. Rehan smiled. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the message. Tiala touched the edge of the core. It was more than a message. It was a promise. And we remembered it for hundreds of years. Rehan looked at her. Then I'll help you find the rest of it. Tiala nodded. There's something else. Before I came here, I heard whispers. My people believed there was a second message, a deeper one that could only be unlocked by human hands. Rehan looked surprised, like a hidden file. Yes, she said softly. It was called the Star Memory. We believed it held the truth about the darkness. Rehan's heart beat faster. He turned to the old computer next to the core and began searching. After a few minutes of scanning through old logs, he found something strange, a locked folder. No name, no tag, no normal access, just a line. To open the light, one must know where it began. Rehan blinked. That's a riddle. Tiala stepped closer. Maybe it's a code. Rehan sat back and thought. The commander had said this station was built to observe stars. Maybe the password was related to the star the Nokari came from. Tiala, Rehan asked. What was the name of your son? She smiled softly. Selena? It means song of life in our language. Rehan typed Selena into the console. The screen blinked. A soft tone sounded. And then, the file opened. A new message began playing. This time, it was not just a voice. It was a hologram. A soft blue light filled the room. A figure appeared, a man in a simple space suit with a tired but kind face. Commander Darren. Earth Explorer Team 7, the man said. This message is for the future. He looked around as if speaking to someone right there. If you're hearing this, then the Nokari found you. That means we were right. That kindness echoes across time. Tiala's eyes filled with tears. The commander continued, I leave this warning. Not all stars are friendly. We discovered something beyond the edge of mapped space. A wave. Not a person, not a fleet, a force. It moves slowly, but it silences everything in its path. No signals, no power, no life. Rehen leaned in. That must be the Dark Sleep. Commander Darren's voice grew serious. I call it the Great Quiet. We believe it feeds on energy, thought, even memory. It doesn't attack. It just removes. Beings forget who they are. Planets turn silent. It's not evil. It just is. He paused, then added, we created a device to stop it, a memory anchor. It holds time and knowledge safe. We hid it under this station. The hologram pointed at the ground. Rha and Tiala looked at each other. You must protect it. The commander said, because stories are stronger than silence. The message ended. The light faded. Silence returned. Rehen stood up fast. We have to find that anchor. Tiala looked around the room. Under the station, there may be a lower level. They searched the back wall of the room. Rehen tapped on the metal plates until he found one that sounded hollow, a small door. It was locked, but Rehen used his toolkit to open it. Behind the panel was a ladder, leading down into darkness. He turned to Tiala. Stay here. I'll check. No, she said. We go together. The tunnel below was narrow and cold. Their lights flickered as they climbed down. The air smelled old and dry. At the bottom, they reached a sealed chamber. Its door was marked with both human and no-Kari symbols. Rehen touched the panel. It slid open with a soft sound. Inside was a circular room filled with glowing pillars. At the center stood a strange machine, shaped like a star, humming with quiet energy. It floated slightly above the floor. Tiala stepped forward. This is it, the anchor. Rehen walked slowly around it. It's beautiful. The anchor pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. It gave off no heat, but Rehen felt something strange in his chest, a warmth, like a memory he couldn't name. Tiala touched the machine gently. I feel like I remember everything, even the things I thought I forgot. Rehen looked at her. Maybe that's how it protects the galaxy, by remembering what's important. Tiala nodded. Stories, love, peace. Rehen placed his hand on the anchor, and at that moment, he saw something. A flash of light, a memory, not his own. The face of the commander, the smile of a child, a ship floating through dark space, a song in a language he didn't know. He stepped back, breathless. It's more than a machine, he said. It's history, held together. Tiala turned to him. We must keep it safe. Rehen nodded. And we need to tell people. Others need to know the danger's real, and that we still remember who we are. Back in the control room, Rehen sent a signal to Earth. Not just data, but a story of a forgotten explorer, a dying people, a girl who followed the stars, and the truth hidden deep in silence. Rehen sat near the central control panel, watching the message upload slowly to Earth's outer relay stations. The signal was weak but steady. Every few seconds, the old station blinked as if remembering its purpose again. Across the stars, Earth would soon hear the voice of Tiala, and the truth buried in silence. Tiala stood near the window, looking out at the dark sky filled with distant stars. The light from the memory anchor still seemed to glow in her eyes. She was no longer the scared woman who had sobbed in his arms. She was calm now, stronger. Rehen looked over at her. Do you think they'll believe us? Tiala gave a soft nod. They must. The darkness is coming slowly. But it is coming. Rehen stared at the control screen. Commander Darren said they built something more, a device to stop the Great Quiet, but he didn't explain what it really was. Tiala turned from the window. He said it was hidden, something powerful, something that even frightened him. Rehen stood up. Then we should find it. They returned to the underground chamber where the memory anchor floated. The glow pulsed slowly, like a quiet heartbeat. Rehen walked around the room again, looking for any hidden path. His hand brushed along the smooth walls until he noticed a section that felt warmer than the rest. He knocked gently. A small click. Then part of the wall opened with a hiss. Behind it was a narrow staircase, leading even deeper. Underground, and Tiala stepped beside him. He truly hid it well. Rehan looked down the stairs. Let's see what he was so afraid of. The air grew colder as they walked down. The walls were smooth and dark, unlike the older metal above. They reached a wide underground room that looked much newer than the rest of the station. Everything here was clean, untouched by dust or time. At the center stood a large machine. It was shaped like a circle, standing upright like a gate, with silver rings floating around it. Blue lights moved across its surface, and a strange hum filled the air, not loud, but deep, like it came from inside the earth itself. Rand stepped closer and read the faded words engraved into its base. Project Veller, Time Lock. System. Tyler whispered the words. Time Lock. Rand stared at the machine. This is the machine he spoke about. The one that can stop time. Diallo looked confused. Stop time? Why would anyone build such a thing? Rand thought for a moment. Maybe not. Stop it forever. Maybe freeze a moment. Protect something from being touched by the great quiet. Tiala touched the side of the machine gently. This could save a whole city or a planet. But it could also be misused, Rehan said quietly. If someone traps time, they could keep power forever. Tiala nodded. Maybe that's why he hid it. They moved around the machine carefully. Rehan found an old control panel nearby. It was still working, powered by a small core. Lines of code scrolled across the screen. Written in both Earth language and a second language, Tiala's. There are logs here, Rehan said. He tested it. He opened the first file, a recording. Began to play. Commander Darren's voice returned, sounding more tired now. The Veller system works. It can freeze time within a field for 10 years, Earth time. We tested it on empty rooms and simple machines. Everything held in place. Nothing aged. Nothing moved. The log continued. But something strange happened. When we stepped inside the edge, we felt it, a pull, like time wanted to stop us from leaving. I fear this machine could become a prison. Rand frowned. A prison? Tiala looked uneasy. Maybe time doesn't like to be touched. Rand opened the next file. I've sealed the Veller machine. I fear what others might do with it. If the quiet ever reaches Earth, maybe someone brave will know how to use it the right way. The log ended. Silence returned. Rand stood very still. We found something dangerous, but also something powerful, Tiala said softly. Something that might save lives. Rehan sat beside the panel, thinking hard. If we leave it here, it might never be used. But if we take it, it could fall into the wrong hands. Tiala sat beside him. Then we must protect the knowledge, not the machine. Let Earth know it exists. Let them decide together. Rehan looked at her. You still trust humans? She nodded. One human saved my people long ago. Another answered my tears. I still believe. Rehan smiled slowly. Then maybe it's time humans believe in themselves again. They returned to the surface. Rehan added a second message to the data he had already sent. This one explained Project Veller, the memory anchor, and the danger of using time to fight silence. He didn't hide anything. We have to tell the truth, he said. No secrets, no lies. TL watched him work. Truth is how stories survive. That evening, they stood outside the station. The stars above the moon shine like a sea of lights. Diallo looked up. Do you think someone is listening now? Rehan nodded. Yes. Somewhere out there, someone heard you. She smiled. Then maybe we're not alone anymore. They stood side by side, looking at the stars. Behind them, deep in the station, the memory anchor pulsed softly. Below that, the Veller machine waited, silent and untouched. And far across the galaxy, the first message reached human ears. The stars shone bright over the ruined research station, but inside, Tiala's eyes were heavy with memories she had kept hidden for a long time. Rehan watched her quietly. He could see the pain in her face, the sadness that came from a long journey filled with loss and hope. They had been together for days now, sharing stories and uncovering secrets. But something deeper stayed locked inside Tiala's heart. He finally asked, Tiala, you told me why you came here. But why did you cry when I found you? Tiala looked down, her fingers tracing the worn edge of the blanket wrapped around her. I cried for many reasons, she said softly, but mostly because I was afraid. Afraid that the stories about humans were only stories, that they were not real anymore. That all the kindness and light was lost. She paused, her voice trembling a little. But when you held me, when you did not turn away, I realized something. You were real, you still cared, and that gave me hope. Rehan smiled gently. I'm glad you found hope here. Tiala nodded, but looked far away, as if seeing a memory unfold. Suddenly, the room around them shifted in her mind. She saw a bright city on a sola, buildings made of shining glass, and trees that glowed softly at night. Children played in the streets, laughing and sharing stories. But above the city, dark clouds gathered, blocking the light of their sun. Selena, her memory, moved faster. She saw her family, her friends, all trying to save their world. Scientists and leaders working day and night, sending messages across the stars, hoping for help. But one by one, those messages went unanswered. The darkness came closer. Then she remembered the day the sky changed forever. The memory was sharp and clear. Tiala was young, barely old enough to walk alone. She stood beside her mother in the city square. The air was heavy with fear and sadness. Her mother held her hand tightly. Remember this, Tiala, her mother said. No matter what happens, you must believe in kindness. You must believe that someone will listen. Tiala nodded, tears filling her eyes. Then, the great silence arrived. Machines stopped working. Lights went out. People stopped speaking. The stars above dimmed. The darkness was no longer just outside. It was inside their hearts, back in the control room. Tiala wiped her eyes. Many of us lost everything that day, she said. But my mother gave me a map of hope. She told me to follow the human stories, to find them, and to bring back the light. Rehan reached out and held her hand. You kept her promise. Tiala smiled faintly, but the journey was lonely. I traveled through empty space, watching stars die. I wondered if I was the last one. Rehan squeezed her hand gently. You were never alone. She looked at him, eyes shining. There's one more thing, she said quietly, something I have not told anyone. Rehan waited. My people tried to use the Veller machine, the time lock. Before I left, she explained, we hoped to freeze our cities and save them from the darkness, but we did not understand it fully. Tiala's voice trembled. The machine trapped us, not outside, but inside time. Some were caught in fields that never moved. Their bodies stayed young, but their minds, they were lost. Rehan frowned. That is terrible. Tiala nodded sadly. It was meant to save us, but it only made some of us prisoners of time. That is why the commander feared the machine. It is powerful, but dangerous. Rehan understood why the machine had been hidden so carefully. They sat together in silence for a while. Then Rehan spoke. We have a chance now to share your story, to warn others, to find a way to use the machine without losing ourselves. Tiala looked hopeful again. Yes, but we need help, not just from Earth, but from everyone who still believes. Rehan smiled. Then we start. With the message we sent, soon, others will hear, and maybe, together, we can stop the darkness. Outside, the stars continued to shine. Inside the old station, the friends sat quietly, bound by a story of loss, hope, and courage, and the galaxy waited. The signal from the moon traveled across the stars, weaving through solar systems and space stations. It carried the stories of Tiala and the Nokari, the lost message from Commander Darren, and the warnings of the Great Quiet, Earth's relay. Stations picked it up, and soon it reached human colonies scattered throughout the galaxy. Rehan stood at the communications console in the station, watching the progress of the transmission. Every blinking light was a heartbeat, a sign that somewhere, someone was listening. Tiala stood beside him, her blue skin glowing softly in the low light. She looked hopeful but nervous. Do you think they will respond? Rehan smiled. Humans never ignore a call for help, especially when it's a story about kindness and hope. Suddenly, the console beeped sharply. A new message arrived. Rehan opened it quickly. It was from a human captain, somewhere near the edge of the Orion system. To those who sent the message from the old moon station, we have heard you. We remember the explorer, Commander Darren. His story has been passed down for generations. We will answer your call. Tiala's eyes filled with tears. They remembered. Rehan nodded. And now they want to help. Within hours, more messages arrived. Old colonies, isolated worlds, and even small outposts began to send responses. They shared stories of their own stories of survival, hope, and the human spirit that never died. One message came from an elder captain named Aaron. His voice was steady and strong. We may be scattered, but the human spark still burns bright. The darkness you speak of is real, and it threatens us all. But together, we can fight it. Your story has reminded us who we are. Rehan turned to Tiala. This is the start of something big. Tiala smiled softly. It is the light we needed. Days passed, and the network of human ships and stations began to organize. They sent teams to study the memory anchor and the Velar machine on the moon. Scientists, engineers, and diplomats prepared to meet Tiala and learn more about the Nokari. One evening, a message arrived from Earth's United Assembly Hall. It invited Rehan and Tiala to come to the capital planet and share their story in person. Rehan looked at Tiala. They want to hear from you? Tiala nodded, her heart beating faster. I will tell them everything. Before they left, Rehan and Tiala stood on the moon's surface. Looking up at the stars, you changed everything, Rehan said quietly. Tiala smiled, a soft light shining in her eyes. No, you changed everything. You listened when no one else did. Rehan laughed gently. Maybe that's what makes us human. Tiala looked at him. Or maybe that's what we can all become. The ship that took them to Earth was quiet, but full of hope. Tiala looked out the window as the blue and green planet grew larger. This place. She whispered, I never thought I would see it again. Rehan squeezed her hand. It's home. When they arrived at the United Assembly Hall, thousands gathered to hear Tiala's story. She spoke of the Nokari, the lost explorer, the great, quiet, and the power of kindness. Her voice was steady, full of emotion and truth. The audience listened in silence. Then, when she finished, they erupted in applause. The leader of the assembly stepped forward. Your story reminds us of what we have forgotten, that hope and courage can cross any distance, that kindness can save worlds. Ren smiled, proud of his new friend. In the days that followed, Earth and its colonies began new peace missions. They reached out to other species, sharing the message of the lost explorer and Tiala's journey. The galaxy was waking up. The stars were no longer quiet. Ever since Tiala told her story to the people of Earth, something had awakened across the galaxy. Messages flowed between planets. Old alliances were restored. New friendships were formed. For the first time in many years, humanity remembered what it truly meant to be human, not just explorers or survivors, but protectors of hope. Our EHAN stood with Tiala on the balcony of the Earth Assembly Tower, looking out at the city below. Flying crafts moved through the sky. On the streets, people from different planets walked side by side, talking and laughing. It's beautiful, Tiala whispered. Rehan nodded. It's what we should have always been. Tiala turned to him. Do you think the darkness will come again? Rehan took a deep breath. Maybe, but this time, we won't hide from it. We'll face it together. The Velar machine, the powerful device left behind by the Nokari, had been safely moved from the moon to a secured station near Saturn. Scientists from many worlds worked together, not to use the machine in secret, but to understand it carefully. They learned that the machine had once tried to save a world by stopping time, but it had done so in fear. Now, they hoped to use it with wisdom, not panic. Tiala joined a team of thinkers and leaders to make sure the mistakes of her people were never repeated. She often shared the words of her mother. Hope is not a machine. It's a heart that keeps beating when the world is silent. One morning, Rehan received the message from an outer colony called Lurin 4. The colony had been quiet for a long time, but now they had seen something unusual in space. A strange ripple in the sky, like light folding inward. Rehan read the report aloud to Tiala. We do not know what it is, but it feels heavy, like a silence that is alive. Tiala frowned. It sounds like the great quiet. Rehan nodded. If that's true, it means it's not over. But neither of them felt afraid. They knew they had a voice now. They had each other, and they had allies. Soon, an emergency council was called on Earth. Rehan and Tiala sat with leaders from many species, not just humans, but also beings from other planets who had heard the message and come to help. A tall, silver-skinned being named Ormus spoke. The silence is not natural. It feeds on forgotten hope. That's why stories are important. That's why her story brought us back. Everyone turned to Tiala. She stood slowly, her voice calm but strong. We cannot run from the silence, she said, but we can fill it with something stronger: truth, kindness, and unity. Her words were simple, but they moved hearts. The new alliance formed quickly. They call it the Circle of Light. Each member agreed to do 3 things. Share knowledge openly, protect peaceful life, never ignore a voice asking for help. Rehan became the human ambassador of the circle. Tiala became its guiding voice. Together, they visited stations, colonies, and ancient ruins, listening to forgotten stories, connecting lonely worlds, and reminding everyone that they were not alone. One day, as they traveled to a distant world, Tiala looked at Rehan with a thoughtful smile. Do you remember the day we met? She asked. Rehan chuckled. Of course, you were crying in my arms. I had no idea what to say. She smiled wider. You said nothing, and that was exactly what I needed. They both laughed softly. Feeling the warmth of that memory, I thought I had lost everything, Tiala said. But I found a human who reminded me that light can come even in silence. Their story spread across the stars. Children read about it in schools. Elders shared it in circles. Even machines began to repeat the message as a sign of peace. And slowly, the ripple of the great quiet began to weaken. Not by force, but by memory, by unity, by belief. Tiala once said, the silence eats what is forgotten. So remember each other. That's how we win. And the galaxy remembered. Years later, a statue stood outside the Earth Assembly Tower. It showed 2 figures, one human, one alien, standing side by side, their hands joined, looking up at the stars. Below it, the words were carved in many languages. She sobbed in his arms, and the galaxy found its voice, and it truly did. The end.